Welcome to this week's installment of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale with Don Henniger. Joining me always is, I'm Don, and joining me always is my scholarly champion, Kevin Maxwell.
I was going to say, what's a cadet again, right? That's a junior police officer?
I had to find some kind of just educational component here because I'm excited about our guest today, man.
That's true.
I know you're a big supporter of our school district, and today our guest who does something really cool, quietly goes about making life better for our students. Devon Lines, he's a school resource officer. He works with the schools in the Scottsdale Unified School District. He's got a program that provides a police presence on our school campuses, and they're there to provide services for students in need and to make sure that they just give them a lot of peace of mind and comfort while they're on the campus. And it's a great support system for students and something we really need in today's world. And one of the coolest elements of what he does is his name is Rocket. And that's the canine partner that Devon uses on all the schools. And welcome, Devon. Great to have you on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Give us a little bit of background so we get a chance to know you before we start digging into your program and talking about Rocket.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Southern California and was the son of a Los Angeles County deputy sheriff and a school teacher, and just kind of growing up in that environment. And after high school, I joined the Army Reserves, and that's what brought me out to Arizona. And once I got out of that, I loved Arizona so much, I decided to stay. And after being in Arizona for a while, I got hired by Maricopa County Sheriffs as a detention officer working in the jails.
That's a tough job. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Let's come back to talk about that more later on, but go ahead.
Yeah. There I was assigned to the juvenile detention for all the juveniles that were being charged as adults. Did that for about 2 years, and then I got hired by Scottsdale Police Department, where I've been for, I think, about 11 years now.
Oh, good.
And the most recent 8 years, I've been on the school resource unit.
It seems so fitting that you're doing what you do on schools when your dad's a detective and your mom's a teacher.
Yeah, it really worked out.
What a natural, it's on your blood that way, right?
I never really thought about it, but as the years went on, I was like, wow, like I kind of merged my parents' jobs perfectly.
That's perfect. You had the mindset either way. It's in the blood, right? That's cool the way that works. So talk a little bit about your program. I think it's fascinating what you do. Tell us how you got involved with it, and just give us some background on what your program's all about.
Are you talking about the canine program?
Yeah. Canine program, yep.
Yeah, so after working in the school resource unit for a few years and seeing, mental health of our youth, which oftentimes goes kind of overlooked or, not diagnosed or taken care of, I reached out to our civilian crisis team because they had a crisis canine named Fozzie, who was a big golden retriever, and a little shout out to Scottsdale PD. Back in 2008, Scottsdale PD became the first police department in the nation to have a full-time crisis canine. Oh. And I saw all the great work that they did. Anthony and his partner Fozzie, and now his partner Chase. And I said, what if we can bring a dog into our schools? Because we can only do so much, but sometimes having a real-life teddy bear walking around with you can do a lot more. And dogs never say the wrong thing. So I started attending every kind of mental health training I could attend and just trying to build my toolbox with as much knowledge as I could. Mm-hmm. And I read a statistic that said 20% of youth have a diagnosable mental health condition. And that could be something, very minor, or it could be something very severe. So I kind of conducted a survey with teachers and counselors to see on any given week how many youth are reporting an issue, whether it's stress, depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, whatever it might be. And the number we came up with was about 5%, which, seeing that, the 5% that are seeking help, beautiful, I love it. But the 15% that aren't seeking the help, those are the ones that I worry about.
Yeah, right.
And so I approached my bosses and said, let's bring some crisis dogs into our schools. And they said, we love the idea, figure it out. And it took about 2 years of figuring everything out, and all the logistics and policies and legal and funding and all that stuff. And 3 years ago now, Rocket joined our team. And Rocket's a giant golden retriever, and it's become my best friend, and has definitely become a celebrity in the schools with all the kids. Right. And so it's been amazing and just full of successes.
So you were working as a school resource officer before you brought the canine proposal.
Correct. Yeah.
And now you've taken it to a whole new level.
And it spread like wildfire, a lot faster than I thought it would. We got Rocket, and within like 6 months, we had organizations and nonprofits reaching out that wanted to help fund our program, and now it's grown to 3 dogs. So we've got 3 dogs on our school resource unit, kind of trying to cover as many of the school complexes as possible.
Right.
And Rocket when we got him, he became the first SRO crisis canine in the county, second in the state. Tucson had a program going, which was going great. So we were able to draw from their successes to help us create our own program. And since then, we've helped other police departments around the nation get their own programs going in their schools. So it's been really great.
You know what's amazing? We're hearing things. I think I have 2 or 3 things now where things like Devon has started here in Scottsdale have become worldwide models.
Right. And last week we had Jim Ford on.
Jim Ford was a good example.
Right. And he had the sprinkler ordinance, which has spread to other municipalities around the country and saved lots of lives.
Got some cool things happening here in Scottsdale.
Scottsdale is really innovative when it comes to, firefighting and law enforcement. Isn't that great to know?
And innovative people like Devon that are coming up with ideas and figuring out a way to make it work. And you make it sound like it was so easy to implement this program, but I have a feeling it probably was not.
Definitely wasn't. We had to jump through a lot of hoops and go through a lot of stuff. But, day one on the ground with Rocket, it's just been nothing but successes. And then our other 2 dogs, Copper and Captain, joining the team, and it's been amazing.
So what were some of the obstacles that you had to go through to get this thing up and running?
One of the cool things about our program, it's completely donation-based. So there's no cost to the taxpayers at all. And so finding that initial funding was tough because I'm like, I don't know where to look. I've never tried to fundraise for something like this.
All of a sudden you're a fundraiser, right?
Yeah. And talking to different organizations and the SUSD Foundation, which is the nonprofit for Scottsdale Unified, they've been a tremendous help. Because they have all of their donors and programs going, and they've been really helping us keep our program going and expand. So it's been really great. We wouldn't have been able to do it without the foundation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kevin, you're on the foundation.
I am on the foundation board, and that's how I came to Met Officer Lines.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
It's good to see you guys funding stuff like this. It really makes a difference in kids' lives, right?
It is, but what's really cool is that not only has it just started with 1, but now up to 3, and we want to hopefully fund some more and expand this program even more. So we have Captain and Copper, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Copper, Captain, and Rocket. Yeah.
So we hope to get some more. But yeah, the foundation was instrumental in getting it started. But it's really up to your innovation and your hard work that made this thing a success. So
I like to say, I hold the leash. Rocket does all the hard work because you got to have the right dog for the job. Because if we would have brought in the wrong dog, they'd be like, this program doesn't work.
Right.
Well, talk about how difficult it is because there is a real process to train one of these dogs. It's very expensive, and that's why the foundation has to come in and help, and along with other community partners. These dogs are not cheap, and because they're highly trained, it takes a long time to train them to have the skill set they need, right?
Yeah. So Rocket came from an organization out in Michigan called Paws with a Cause. So they're a national service dog provider. And they were the ones that provided us with Fozzie, our first ever crisis dog back in the day. So once I got this idea, we reached out to them and kind of told them the traits and qualities we were looking for. And they set aside some dogs for me. And I flew out to Michigan.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It was early January. It was freezing. I flew out there, rented a car, drove down to their facility. And I got to work with each dog they had set aside. And they were all brilliant dogs. All their dogs kind of start training at like 8 weeks old. And are trained through 1 or 2 years old or more, depending on the job that dog's going to do. And I worked with each dog, and they were all so brilliant. And Rocket was the very last one. And they're like, we've got this giant golden retriever named Rocket. They let him out of his kennel, and he came running down the hallway. And then he cut into an office, and he stole a bone and ran out. And as soon as I was like, that's the one. That's the dog we want.
He's got a kid all inside
of him, doesn't he?
Personality.
Yeah. And it's been great. So Rocket was trained for 2 years to be a facility dog, like a dog that would live in a hospital and work with patients.
Sure, yeah.
And we called him. We said, we want a dog that's comfortable around 2,000 screaming kids, but can also give that one-on-one love and attention. And once I saw his playfulness and worked with him for a couple hours, I was like, this is the one. And a couple hours later, we were on a plane flying back to Arizona.
With Rocket?
Yep.
No, that's great.
Thankfully, it was during like the COVID times when they were separating seats and stuff on the planes. So I got to the airline, and all the staff there were phenomenal, and I ended up getting my own row of like 7 seats to myself.
Really?
Because I'm a tall guy, so I don't fit very well in normal seats. And now I got this giant, 75-pound golden retriever.
That is so funny.
So you met Rocket. He came home from that day?
Yep.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
We had
Wow.
known each other for about 3 hours before we were on a plane together, and I was terrified. I've never flown with a dog,
Right.
let alone a dog I just met 3 hours ago.
It was kind of love at first sight too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we instantly bonded, and he slept the whole 5-hour flight just laying across the seats at my feet, and I occasionally gave him some treats as we were flying to keep him occupied. But I was terrified the whole time. Like, what if I can't fall asleep on this flight if he gets up and
Yeah.
runs around? But everything worked out great. The captain gave him his own set of wings,
Is that right?
so it's pretty cool.
Sounds like Rocket's a better passenger than some kids I've seen on flights,
definitely,
right?
yeah. He slept for 5 hours through the turbulence, and I'm sitting in my seat sweating. But and then our other 2 dogs, they came from local providers and local
did,
trainers.
okay.
So the other 2 handlers met their dogs when they were a lot younger and got to kind of go through the training with them. Where I think I had the easy job, where I showed up, Rocket was 2 years old and already trained. So then it was really just training me on how to use Rocket, since he already knew everything. So the other 2 guys had it a lot harder than I did.
So how do the crisis canines differ from the other canines in the department? If that's
Yeah.
the right way to ask it.
Yeah, so we have our crisis canines, we have our detection canines, and then our apprehension canines, where our crisis dogs, their whole job is to give love and just try to, I like to call it normalize an abnormal situation, because it's not normal for us as humans to see traumatic things or experience bad things, but it's normal for us to pet a dog. So if someone's experienced something traumatic or is going through something, we can bring in a dog and they kind of normalize that situation and kind of de-escalate everything, and then it allows us to help that person. Where our other dogs, are either trained to detect something, or they're trained to detect something and chase bad guys.
Right.
The cool stuff you see on TV. Where our dogs, their whole job is to make people happy. So it's pretty great, and the dogs we use, it kind of comes naturally to them.
I think I asked this question one time when we were at board meetings. It's familiar to me. So, in the event there's a crisis at a school, Rocket's not trained for that crisis. He's just a affection animal, right? So, I think you said you go put him away in that situation, wouldn't you?
It depends on the situation.
Okay.
If it's something where we've got time to react, I can put him in his kennel, or I can hand him off to one of the school staff members and say, "Hey, just take him up to my office, or
Right.
take him to your classroom. I'll come get him later."
Right.
But if there was a true emergency, a true emergency where there's going to be cops from all over
Yeah.
flying in to help us.
But he wouldn't be able to assist you in anything like that, right?
No, if there's something like
Right.
that, the truth is I drop the leash and I'll find him when it's done.
Right.
'Cause
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
if there's a mass casualty event or something actively going on, then I'm going to either put him in a room or hand him off to somebody, or just drop the leash. So because
He's not cross-utilized or cross-trained or anything like that, right?
No, yeah,
He has one
doesn't-
purpose.
He doesn't understand what the word bite means. He knows how to cuddle, and that's about it.
Have you had a case happen where you've had to do that? We've had a crisis at a school somewhere. and
Thankfully
that's-
not. Knock on wood.
Good. Good.
Thankfully
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
We've responded to stuff, but
Yeah.
then he just stays in the car.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But as far as on campus, when we were there, we had a false alarm, if you will, where Rocket and I were in a classroom teaching a class, and I heard across the police radio that someone was reporting a shooting on campus. And I'm like, I'm on campus. I haven't heard anything. So we walked out there and responded to the building that they claimed it to be in, and I just clipped his leash onto one of the campus golf carts that were sitting out there, and went in there, and it ended up being a fake swatting call. We call them a spoof call, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just clipped his leash onto a golf cart as I was walking and kept going, and I came back out there and he was just laying in the grass enjoying his day.
I like Rocket already, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, have you met him yet?
No, I want to meet him.
You're
for
gonna meet him
sure.
in a minute
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So walk us through a typical day, if there is one,
and
such a thing.
That's the nice part about police work, is every day is different. You never know what you're going to get. Where us on the school resource unit, so there's 10 of us and a supervisor that cover all of the SUSD campuses and the couple of the Cave Creek school campuses that are in the city of Scottsdale. So there's 10 of us that cover all of those. Every high school has a full-time SRO assigned to it, and then the middle and elementary schools will share because they'll cover a couple campuses just because they're smaller. So normal day for me at the high school, I show up before school starts and, check in at the office because I've got my own office up there. Well, it's really Rocket's office.
Yeah.
If you see the amount of toys on the floor, I check in, check the voicemails, check the emails real quick. And then depending on the time of year, if it's hot or cool, I'll take Rocket out and kind of cruise campus while the kids are arriving. and just let Rocket get some of his pets in for the day because he has a quota. Get some of his pets in, and then
What is that quote? It's pretty high, I bet.
oh, it's thousands. Yeah. He starts getting his pets and his good mornings to everybody, and then some days we go into classes and we teach because the school resource officer in Scottsdale, we kind of call it like the diamond or the pyramid for the hats we wear. At our core, at the top of that pyramid, we're police officers, we're law enforcement. One of the other tips, we're a mentor/teacher and a counselor because we do a lot of stuff. I love going into classes and teaching because it gives me a reason to connect with kids that I wouldn't normally get to connect with.
That's the teacher in your DNA there.
Yeah, right.
Out, right? Yeah.
So I do a lot of like the senior government classes, go in there and teach like constitutional law, or go into the math classes and teach like collision investigations where there's a little bit of math involved. But in a 45, 50-minute class period, I try to teach for like 25 minutes, and then the other time I'm like, just ask any question you've ever wanted to ask a police officer. Ask me whatever, I'll give you an honest answer. And through that, you get to humanize the badge, where the kids start to see you as a person.
Sure.
And then down the road, they're less, afraid to come up and talk to you. Kids all the time will come in my office like, hey, I got in trouble over the weekend. Like, what's going to happen to me? What's going on? Or they'll just come in and that's the great part. I've been at Chaparral this is my 8th school year at Chaparral.
Wow, okay.
So I've seen kids come through and graduate, their siblings come through and graduate, and get to really know the families, which the sense of community is what I love. But it's fun when a kid will come into the police officer's office to chat, as opposed to talking to their teacher, their counselor, the principal. They just want to come in and sit in the police officer's office and ask them questions about life or whatever. It's not always about law. It's just sometimes they just, hey, I need some life advice. So we can kind of have that mentor counseling role that when I was on patrol, you don't really get.
No, that's amazing.
And then some days, we're tied up busy dealing with drama. And some days we get to, hang out on campus and just chat with the kids. And, we work the football games and the basketball games. We'll work those. And, some Fridays at lunch, I'll bring a football out to the middle of campus and just play catch, just to get to know the kids better and hopefully prevent crimes before they even happen.
The fact you've been there so long that people know you now. You're probably on a first name basis with Officer Devon. Hello, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially when you get to know the parents and the kids are coming through. And, there's some days where I'm working like a special event like the Phoenix Open out there working, and now a grown man comes up to me and says, hey, I went to Chaparral, 7-8 years ago. I think you were the cop there. I was like, yeah, I was. And, they're married with a baby. I'm like, wow, I've been here for a long time. But it's cool that after, 7-8 years, there's people that have now grown up and have their own families that still remember you for being that presence on campus.
You told a really heartwarming story I heard one time, and I don't recall all the details. but you probably have something similar. I'll probably jog your memory a little bit here, but something about a little girl who was having a nonverbal day, was having a real crisis, and Rocket came, and she started opening up to Rocket first, and then later on opened up some counselors or something like that. I'm sure it happens.
We've had a lot of that stuff because some of the other officers on the other campuses will call us and say, hey, I've got a student, in elementary age or middle school age, and I've got a student in crisis, and can you come help out? And I think the one you were talking about, there was a student that didn't even want to get out of the car, was just completely shut down, a younger age kid. And they were able to get her into the school, but she was just curled up in the fetal position in a chair.
Oh my!
In one of the counselor's office for a solid hour. And I responded over there with Rocket, and I brought Rocket in there. I just kind of laid him at her feet, and then I just kind of sat and just waited. And after like 10, 15 minutes, a little hand reaches out and starts to pet him. And then before I know it, the feet go down, and she starts to kind of uncurl.
Yeah.
And before I know it, she's sitting on the floor petting Rocket and laughing. And then I made an agreement with her parents that, if she was able to make it to school every week for a certain amount of days, then, we would schedule like a little play date for her as a reward. And so like a month later, they came over to the high school and had her and her sibling and the family had a little private play date with Rocket, and they brought him some treats and toys, and it was super cool.
These are the kind of stories you don't hear.
Nope.
That are happening in our schools with people like Devon.
Every day.
Amazing.
Right?
You hear all the bad stuff, and, that's just the way the news cycle goes. But it's just heartwarming to be able to hear stuff like this that's happening. It really is.
Very cool.
So you've got three, Copper, Captain, and Rocket. Are they all on high schools? I mean, how do you figure out who's going where?
Yeah, so our goal ultimately is to have one for each complex, which the complex is the high school and then all the schools that feed into that, the elementary and middle school. So Rocket and I cover the Chaparral complex. Captain is down at Coronado High School, covers the Coronado complex. And then Copper is at Mojave Middle School, and he covers the Saguaro complex. So he can kind of bounce around to all those schools. So eventually, hopefully, we'll have one for each complex.
Each complex. So there's two high schools out then, doesn't it?
Yeah, then we've got the Desert Mountain complex and then Arcadia.
So with some more funding, we might be able to see some more canines coming on.
Yeah, maybe.
So if you're listening right now and you got a big heart, we'll have to figure out a way to connect you to the foundation. Or
Right.
how is that? How's the foundation doing? Are they raising money to try to
Absolutely.
spur some? to spur for this program.
We just had a holiday fundraiser last week, and we're still waiting to hear the results of that. But it was very successful, and we're hoping to be able to chalk away some more money so we can
Stuff like this.
fund our fourth dog. Absolutely.
Yeah,
The foundation is very focused on this. This is one of our main primers that we're doing this. This is one of our main things. We still fund some STEM stuff and getting some kids into some classes, but I think one of our points of pride for the foundation is the Canine program. So
I can see why. Yeah, especially when you tell stories like that, it's hard to not get a little tear in your eye when you hear stuff like that.
Yeah,
So-
and it's we get little stories like that every day, and it's not always something big like that. It's, every day I'm walking campus and a student will just come up and pet Rocket and be like, I needed this, and they keep walking, and I don't know why they needed it, but I'm glad Rocket's there to provide whatever they needed.
That's for sure. So do Copper, Captain, and Rocket ever get together?
We do, yeah. We try to get together, at least once a month. We're all pretty busy and we're spread throughout the city, but we try to get together at least once a month to do a group kind of training and also let them just play and
Play with
be
each
dogs
other?
a little bit, yeah.
And they all have got different personalities, I assume.
Oh,
right?
definitely, yeah.
Just like people, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Between Rocket, Copper, Captain, and then Chase, who's on our civilian crisis team, we've got the whole spectrum of personalities. Where Rocket's on the real far side of so excited he wants to meet everybody, and everybody's his best friend. So it's good to have all the personalities because depending on the situation, we might want a different personality
That's
for
good.
that situation.
Good
So it works
point.
great.
just like other canine units, they go home with you, right? And you live with them full time, and they're your dogs, even when your days off and stuff like that, right?
Yep. They're with us 24/7. Unless we have to go out of town on a vacation or something like that. But in the past, 3 years I've been with Rocket. I think we've been apart for 2 nights.
Oh, is that right?
But they become part of the family, and you become that kind of pack. And Rocket knows when he's at work. He puts on his vest, and he knows when he's at work. And then once we get home, the vest comes off, and he knows he gets to be a dog.
Get relaxed, put his feet up.
Wow.
So that sounds fantastic. So are there other schools, in Arizona that are trying to follow this? Do you know if there's other programs like this at other school districts or?
I know when we started, Tucson had at least 2 with their sheriff's department down there. We've been speaking with Chandler. I'm not sure how far they've gone with that, but there's other agencies we're working with, and then other agencies, around the nation, on the East Coast and everything that saw a news story or something like that and reached out, and we'll send them our policies and send them everything that we've done to try to help them get their program going.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's an easy sell once you find out what's going on with this, right? In terms of the benefit you have for the kids that you're working with.
I think it's a win-win because the SRO officers are on campus anyway. It's their job; they have to be there, right? So while you're there, why not you just expand the utilization of what they're actually doing, right? I mean, they're there to protect and serve, and mostly is the first thing. But then while you're there, why not help the kids, the mental health?
Makes sense, yeah. Now you mentioned before that about the Phoenix Open. You don't take Rocket out to the Phoenix Open, do you?
No, when I got to work those long days, Rocket gets the day off.
He gets the day off.
Gets to lay on the couch all day while I'm out there working.
Yeah, he gets the easy life once in a while. Exactly right. That's fantastic, Kevin. Do you have any other questions?
Oh,
for
so
us
now,
today?
I hope it's not a personal question. Do you have family as well, or at home, or?
I've got my fiance.
Okay.
And her dog. She's
Oh,
got
okay.
a little corgi,
Oh, okay.
Australian Shepherd named Autumn.
Yeah.
And they're great. And Autumn's definitely picked up some of Rocket's traits, which has been nice.
Is that
If
right?
only we could get her to stop barking.
No. Yeah.
So would Rocket on your days off when you're working the Phoenix Open, when he stay at home with
Yeah.
the other dog and your
Yeah.
fiance? Then okay.
Yeah, the Autumn's his buddy.
Right.
They'll lay on the couch together and play tug of war. Rocket wins because he's so
Right,
big.
yeah.
He's
but
big, right,
but
right.
They're definitely buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe
it
he
makes
could-
it easy.
Maybe he can teach the other one to stop barking a little
That's
bit,
what
right?
we're trying. I keep telling Rocket, but he hasn't done it yet.
Sounds like he follows just about everything else you want him to do. So maybe
Yeah.
you'll get around to that as well, right? Fabulous program.
Right. Yeah.
Again,
right.
point of pride. Kevin, this is why we do these podcasts.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
we talk to folks who are doing amazing things in our community that, and we get to shed just a little bit of a spotlight on it, and our listeners benefit from knowing what you're doing, and our community and our kids and our schools all benefit from what you're doing, and we sure appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks, Devon. Thanks to you and Rocket, and who I can't wait to meet, by the way, for all the work that you both are doing to support our schools and keep our kids safe. We really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for listening today. We look forward to being back with you again for our next roundup of Today and Tomorrow in Scottsdale.